Hi, everyone. Good to see all of you again today for Mental Health on the Mat, which is a yoga class that combines mental health tools with yoga practice. I'm a therapist in Washington State and also a yoga teacher. And I just love doing this every Thursday. So I'm happy to have you here. As always, you can jump in and out of the video, join as you see fit to leave whenever your lunch break is over if you are working today. We are in the month of December. So we are still working on our themes of reflection. Thank you for those of you who are trickling in. It's always good to see you. In our month of December for reflections, today we are going to be reflecting on connection and belonging, and how those fit into our lives and what we want more of, and appreciating and offering gratitude for what we do have, as far as connection goes. We're going to get started with just some warm-up movements, and then I'll read a poem to help us drop into the reflection space a little bit more deeply. But while we're starting today, as always, go ahead and take off your shoes if you haven't done so already. You can push yourself away from your desk if you are working at your desk today. Get your yoga mat set up. You don't need any extra tools or supplies today. If you do want something comfy, like a pillow or a blanket for Shavasana, you can go ahead and get that now for the end of today's class. Um, All right, let's go ahead. I'm going to transition back to my yoga mat here so I can get started with all of you. And we're going to start by warming up our joints. So let's go ahead and tuck our chin to our chest. Let out a sigh and breathe in between your shoulder blades here. Let your shoulder blades slump down. Allowing yourself to arrive in this moment. Maybe exaggerate the movement a little bit more, rounding your spine, bringing that chin closer to your chest. And just as slowly and intentionally as we lowered our head here, we're going to slowly and intentionally draw our chin up in a straight line until it reaches towards the ceiling. As you breathe here, breathe into your front chest, into your collarbone. Maybe squeeze your shoulder blades behind you this time, creating space in the front line of your body. And allow your chin to drop parallel to the floor, creating just a neutral spine here. We're going to bring our left ear to our left shoulder. Just let the weight of our head here create the stretch on the right side. See if here you can breathe into your right armpit, creating space for your shoulder. And bringing your head back up to a neutral position before bringing your right ear to your right shoulder and breathing into your left armpit. As we do these gentle warm-ups and stretches, you can call to mind the things that you feel connected to in your life. Maybe they're people or animals, places or things. Go ahead and bring your chin back to parallel. We're going to shrug our shoulders up to our ears, both of them reaching up. Inhale, create some tension, maybe even squeeze your face muscles to really emphasize creating some tension here. Exhale, drop your shoulders, sigh it out, make some sound, release your facial muscles, let it all go. Doing the same movement 2 more times, shrugging your shoulders up to your ears, squishing your nose, your mouth, your teeth, creating that tension. Sighing out with some sound. One more time, following your own breath. Letting it all go. Go ahead and bring your wrists out in front of you and begin with some wrist rolls. You can let your fingers be loose or your hands and fists. You can do wrists in the same direction, maybe trying one wrist in one direction, the other in the other direction, switching it up, waking up your wrists. Drop your hands down to the side before reaching wide and up, palms facing each other. Turn your palms to the front. Spread your fingers as wide as they can go. Exhale, curl your fingers into a fist. Inhale, spread your fingers as wide as they can go. Exhale, curl those fingers into a fist. One more time, spreading those fingers wide. And this time, as you curl your fingers into a fist, begin to roll your ankles or your wrists again. We'll get to our ankles. Spread your arms wide, reach as you roll down. Once all the way down, we're going to stretch our feet out in front of us. Pull your toes towards your chest. Lift your heels up off the ground. If they come up, if they don't, that's okay. And then point your toes, pull them far, far, far away from your chest towards the ground. When I did gymnastics when I was younger, we would press on our toes to try to get them to the ground. No need to do that. Any simple movement with your body, you can just usually let your body stretch how it wants to stretch on its own. No need to force it into place. Go ahead and pull those toes back up towards your chest, pointing them down again, and then letting them relax. Bring your left ankle over top of your right thigh, above your right knee. Drop your left knee down to the side and begin to roll your left ankle here. You can switch directions, do whatever speed works for your body. Just a little warm up. Stretch this left foot out long. Bring your right ankle over that left thigh above your left knee and roll that ankle around. We're in the holiday season here. Yesterday was Christmas and the start of Hanukkah, and I'm sure many other holidays. We also just passed the solstice. Whatever it is that you celebrate, you can reflect on the connection that you had with loved ones at that time and the connection you're having with your body today for practice. Go ahead and stretch your right foot out long, but this time you're going to pick your feet up close, maybe 2 feet away from your hips, so your knees are up towards the sky. You're going to sink your hands behind you and rock your knees to the right side. Pick them up through center and rock them to the left side. Focusing on warming up your hip joints here. Letting the movement come from your hips so your knees and ankles stay relatively in alignment. Great. Back in our seated position here, we're going to focus on our core. So let's, while we're focusing on connection here, let our heart lead. We're going to bring our chest forward. None of my weight is in my hands. Send that chest to the side. Round it out to the back, to the other side, and forward. You can continue at whatever pace feels good for your body, letting your heart lead here. Switching directions. And coming back to center. Now that we've warmed up our spine just a little bit here, we're going to go through the 6 movements of the spine to help us warm up. So starting again by tucking our chin to our chest, but this time we're going to roll our spine down, continuing this movement until we can't go anymore. Again, not forcing anything to happen here. Just rolling your forehead, chin, tucking it all down and in to the tiniest little ball you've ever made. Here, breathe through your entire back, your tailbone, your spine, the back of your neck. And on an exhale, you're going to start to unroll, letting your chin lifting be the last thing that happens. And when your chin reaches the top, send your shoulders back, maybe even bring your hands back behind you to support you in a little back bend here. Breathing now down the front line of your body, your chest, your collarbone, your neck, your chin. Taking one big inhale in, and we're going to flow between these 2 poses for just a moment. Exhaling down, down, down. Inhaling up, up, up. Wherever you're at, do one more of each. And we'll meet all together back at a neutral spine. Beautiful, everyone. Let's inhale our arms up. We're going to use the next plane of our spinal movement, going from side to side. So sending your arms over to the left here. Breathing into the right side of your body. Sending your arms up and over to the right side, breathing into the left side of your body. Flowing back and forth here between the 2. At your own pace. Maybe doing one more on each side, then meeting back in the center to do twists. So for today, we'll do a lot of twists, and you have 2 variations you can try out. One variation is with straight arms, and the other was with bent arms, which will create a deeper twist. So for our straight arm variation for right now, you're going to inhale your arms up. Exhale, bring your right hand to your left knee. Send your left hand down behind you on the ground. And with straight arms, gently twist as you look over your left shoulder. If you'd like to try the deeper twist, you're going to inhale your arms up. Bring your palms together as you draw them down your midline. Send your right elbow over to your left knee. Send your left elbow up to the sky as you gaze up towards the ceiling. Whichever variation you choose is perfect, so long as you're listening to your body. Untwisting, coming back to center, and repeating on the opposite side. So you can either choose to do the bent elbow twist, or you can choose to do the straight arm twist, bringing your left arm to your right knee and twisting around. And coming back to center. If your body needs any more little warm-ups, you're welcome to do them now. I'm going to read a poem for us on connection and belonging, one of my favorite poems, and I'll read another one at the end of class today at Shavasana. Um, if you don't want to do any extra stretching, you can always listen to the poem by listening to your breath at the same time, breathing in deep. This poem is Wild Geese by Mary Oliver. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are headed home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over announcing your place in the family of things. Inhale the biggest breath you've had all day. Inhaling your place in the belonging of things. Exhaling any resistance. Go ahead and swing your feet to one side. We're going to come and begin in child's pose. Bring your feet together behind you. Bring your knees to the edges of your mat. Sink your weight back onto your heels. Walk your hands forward into child's pose. Again, you can always choose a relaxed child's pose with your arms, forearms, forehead on the mat, or an active child's pose where you press those arms up, lift your head up, just your 10 fingertips on the mat. Child's pose is a great pose to deepen those reflection moments. You can stay here as long as you want, or you can join us in the next pose. We're going to bring our hands together, clasp them in front of us, still in child's pose here. Bend in the elbows and send your hands behind your head. See if you can press your shoulders down deeper into the mat as you do this. Release your hands back down to the mat. Great. Shift your weight forward to come up into tabletop position. Walk your knees a little bit closer together so that they're under your hips, hands under your shoulders here. And let's move through some cat and cow. So sinking your belly down, lifting your chin to the sky. Breathing into the front line of your body again. Exhaling, we're going to round our spine. Sending our backbone to the ceiling, tucking that belly button in towards our spine. And flowing back to cow. You can move through the traditional cat and cow postures right now, or you can add in some intuitive movement, listening to your body, maybe bending in the elbows or the hips, rolling around. How does your animal body, your spine want to wake up in this moment? I work with a lot of couples in my therapy practice. And one of the things that I have found to be true is that we need to be connected to our body, to our movement, to our animal creatureness in order to feel connected to another animal body. Come back to a neutral spine. We're going to flow through a little cat-cow child's pose flow here. So lifting your chin, sinking your belly down into cow. When we exhale, we're going to sink back on our heels to child's pose. Rest for a moment. And as we press our weight forward, we're going to round our spine as we come up straight into cat. And back down into cow, sinking that belly down, lifting that chin. And back the other way, rounding up and around as we sink back on our heels. Rounding up and around to shift our weight forward, sinking our belly down. We'll do this one more time. Sinking back down into child's pose. Rounding back up into cow. Reset with a neutral spine. Keep your hips to the sky, knees under your hips. Walk your hands forward to come into puppy dog pose. You can rest your forehead on the mat. Focus on sinking your shoulders down. Coming out of it by shifting your weight forward, walking your hands back. We're going to sink back down on our heels for one last child's pose. This time, send your hands down close to your feet. As your weight shifts forward, rest your forehead on the mat. This is one of my favorite poses. I think I could stay there the whole rest of the class, which you're welcome to do. Or if you want to keep moving your body, you can go ahead and come to standing. We're going to stand now in the middle of our mat, facing the short side. Find a good solid mountain pose, joints stacked up on top of each other, hands to the front. And raise those hands up above your head. Clasp your hands together, keeping your elbows up towards the sky. Bend in the elbows to send your hands back behind your head, just like we were doing in child's pose. Send your arms up, reaching forward, hinge at the hips, coming down into a forward fold. Go ahead and interlace your hands around opposite elbows to hang here for just a moment. Release your hands down to the mat as you bend in the knees. Walk your hands forward a little bit. Walk your feet back a little bit to come into downward dog. You can pedal out your feet here. We're going to shift our weight forward, bending in our knees, coming into kind of like an elevated tabletop. Let your knees hover above the mat a couple inches. Engage your core as you do this. Feel some strength in your body. And then exhale, release your feet down to the mat. Moving into wild thing, we're going to move our right foot to the side. So it looks like this, but I'll be doing it on the opposite side. Move your right foot to the side, straighten your left leg, reach your left arm in front. And as you do so, open up your front side of the body to the left side. Great job, everyone. Create that long line. You can always open a little bit further. Send your underbelly up towards the ceiling and curl back around the way you came in. We're going to take a breath here before we repeat on the opposite side. This time, send your left foot out to the side. Reach your right foot long. Lift, reach your right hand long as you open your body to the right side. Reaching in a nice long straight line. And the option to send a little bit of your underbelly up to the ceiling. Untwisting slowly and gently here. We're going to sink back on our heels to come to standing. Once again in the, let's see, let's come to standing in the middle of our mat. I'm going to turn this way just so you can see, but you can still face the short side of your mat. Inhale your arms wide. You can stretch your feet out a little bit wide to come to star pose here. I'd like you to send your arms back, beginning first with your shoulders and then your hands to create a little bit of a wide back bend here. Chin can go up to the sky. Send your arms up overhead. We're going to send them to the left side as we sink our hips to the right side. Pass up through center. Send your hands to the right side as you sink your hips to the left side. Pass up through center. And this time you're going to interclasp your hands behind you, or you can have your palms facing each other as you reach back behind you. Send them up until they can't go anymore, and then hinge at the hips as you send them over into a nice little humble pose here. This is one of my favorite stretches. It's kind of a vulnerable pose or a humble pose. It's a good time to reflect on what connections you have in your life that are safe to be humble to let your ego down a little bit, to deepen the connection in a way that's nourishing for everybody. Send your arms back to your hips as you come back up to standing. And we're going to walk this time to the front of our mat. Inhale your arms high, sink back on your heels to come into chair pose. Make sure that you can see the tops of your toes as you look down past your knees. Release your hands, keep your legs in chair pose. Come up onto your toes here. Try and find your balance. Sink back down onto your heels and raise your arms again. We're going to do a twist here. You can choose a straight arm or a bent arm twist. The straight arm twist, you're going to send your right hand to your right knee, left hand behind you. The bent arm twist, you're going to bring your hands together at your heart center. Send the right elbow to your left knee, left elbow to the sky. Untwisting, standing back up, sinking back down into chair pose, and repeating that twist on the opposite side. Straight arm or bent elbow. And coming back up to center, resetting, reaching up. And let your hands down to the side. Shake out your legs from that chair pose. We're going to cross our left arm under, right arm over top, crossing at the elbows so the backs of our hands reach each other. Reach up with your hands. And as you exhale, we're going to pull them down to our core, rounding our spine as we go down into a forward fold with eagle arms. Coming back up to center, releasing your arms, shift your weight to the right foot. Hands on your hips as you send your left foot back into a lunge. Place your hands on that front knee to slowly bend your back knee, releasing it down to the mat. Shifting your weight forward to really get a good stretch in that hip. Inhale your arms high, clasp them together. Elbows to the sky, hands to the back of your head. You guys ready for another twist? We're going to release our hands. Again, you can use a straight arm, twist, left hand to the outside of your right knee, or you can do this with bent hands, starting with your hands together at heart center, moving your left elbow to your right knee, right elbow up to the sky. Untwisting. We're going to send our arms behind us, reaching up and back, and relaxing our hands down to the mat on the inside of our right leg, walking down to our forearms if available to you. If not, you can stay in this low lunge, or you can drop down, deepening the stretch here. In a little lizard pose. Use your hands to straighten back up to that low lunge. One more pose here before we repeat on the opposite side. We're going to pick up our back foot. You can choose to stay here, or you can reach with your left hand towards that back foot. And let everything go. Go ahead and shift your weight forward to bring your left foot back up to meet your right foot. It's a lot of pressure on our legs, a lot of strength and stretch at the same time. So shake them out if you need to. Inhale your arms up. This time we're sending our right arm under, left arm over, crossing at the elbows, backs of hands together, reaching up, curling down into that forward fold. Inhaling back up to center. Hands on your hips as you shift your weight to the left side. Send that right foot back this time into our lunge. Hands to your front knee as you slowly lower your back leg. As a reminder, you can always roll up the back of your mat underneath your knee if it was a little tricky on the other side. Okay, let's deepen into this lunge. Inhale our arms up, clasp them together, bend in the elbows. Send those hands behind your head. Straightening out those arms. Can either twist to the left side with straight arms, left hand or right hand coming to your left knee, left hand behind you. Or you can bring your hands to heart center and do this twist with bent elbows. Untwisting, sending those arms behind you, reaching up and back. Exhaling, letting your hands drop to the inside of your left foot. Choose to stay here or to send yourself down onto your forearms to really, really deepen here. Listening to your body. Coming back up in our last pose on this side. Picking up that right foot. Think I need some extra padding on this side, so I am going to fold my mat here. Picking up that back foot. There we go. That feels better for my knee. Reaching around with your right hand. And untwisting, unwinding, coming back to standing. If you did have your mat rolled up, now's a great time to unroll it. We're going to come to standing in the middle of our mat. You can face the long side this time. And we're going to go through some tree variations. Before we get into our tree pose, let's find our roots. Set your feet hip distance width apart, toes pointed forward. We're going to shift our weight from side to side, rolling up onto the left side of your left foot, inside of your right foot, and roll to the other side. And back and forth. Let's come up onto our toes and rock back on our heels, lifting our toes. And as you set your toes back down, see if you can set them down one toe at a time. Pinky toes, ring toe, middle toe, index toe, your thumb toe, big toe, whatever you want to call it. Grip into the earth with all your 10 toes, the four corners of your feet. And from this place where we're deeply rooted, deeply connected, we're going to shift our weight to the left side, pick up our right heel, place it on our left ankle, and send our arms down to the sides. Tree variation 1 here. You can stay here. Focus on your balance. You can inhale to raise your arms out to the side. Raise your foot as high as it can go on its own, as long as you're not putting any pressure on your knee. So just below your knee or just above your knee. And for our third variation, you can use your hand to lift your foot. Inhale those arms wide and high. Just check. Are you still pressing in with all 5 toes and the 4 corners of your left foot? Exhale, very slowly, gently release everything back down. All right, let's give our feet a little massage. Repeating, finding our grounding. Lifting your toes, lowering them 1 toe at a time. When you find that stability, shift your weight to the right side. Lift up your left heel, place it on your right ankle, send your arms wide and down. Inhale your arms to the side, lifting that foot either just below your knee or just above on its own. And finally, you can use your hands to lift your foot a little bit higher. Whoops, falling to the side there. Good thing my walls are close. All right, raise your hands up. Reach, reach, reach. See what's happening in your right foot. Let everything go back down. Beautiful job. All right, we're going to come to standing again at the top of our mats. Let's inhale our arms up. We're going to exhale, forward fold. Inhale for a halfway lift. Slide your hands up your shins. And exhale back down to that forward fold. Bend in the knees till your hands reach the mat on the inside of your right foot, outside of your left foot. You're going to send your left leg back to come into a lunge. Drop your back heel down to the mat so your back foot's at a 45-degree angle. And then inhale your upper body up to come into warrior one. Exhale, send your arms to the side to come into warrior two. Gaze over that front hand. Send your hands behind you. You can have them reaching towards each other or clasped. Bending at the hips, sending those arms up behind you, letting your chest rest on that front thigh to come into humble warrior. Inhaling back up to center, back to warrior two. You can always straighten that front leg if this is getting difficult. Reverse warrior, send your left hand to your low back, right hand up and over. Let's cartwheel those arms down to the mat. We're going to send our right foot back to come into plank. Lower yourself down onto the mat. Inhale to cobra. Exhale all the way down to the mat. Tuck your toes underneath. Come up to tabletop. Walk your way forward. We're going to come to standing at the top of our mat to repeat on the opposite side. Excellent job, everyone. Inhale your arms up. Exhale, swan dive into that forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale all the way down again. This time, bend in the knees to plant your hand on the inside of your left foot, outside of your right foot. Send your right leg back. Let your right heel drop to the floor so your toes are pointed at a 45-degree angle. Inhale your arms up to the sky for warrior one. Drop your arms to the side, right hand back, left hand forward for warrior two. Send your arms down, reaching behind you. Hinge at the hips, maybe clasping your hands together. Sending your hands up and over for that humble warrior. Swinging your hands around to lift them back up to the sky. Actually, I think what we did was warrior two. Go ahead and send them out to the front and the back. Send your right hand to your low back, left hand up and over. Your gaze is going to follow that left hand up behind you. And cartwheeling both those hands down to the mat. Sending your left foot back for plank. Lowering down onto the mat. And inhaling for cobra, squeezing your glutes together, lifting your chest, your chin. And exhale everything down to the mat. We're actually going to stay down on the mat here, but roll over onto our backs. And you can lift your, bring your feet so they're a couple feet apart from your hips, knees up to the sky. Send your hands behind you so you kind of look like the letter M if we're making a Sesame Street video here. We're going to do some variations of boat pose. So variation one, you can stay like this. Variation two, you can lift your shins parallel to the floor, putting your weight into the back of your hands. Variation three, you can send your arms parallel to your shins, parallel to the floor. Engaging your core. And variation four, you can straighten out those legs in boat pose. Whichever variation feels best for your body right now. Maybe one leg at a time. All right, come back and reset at variation one here, the letter M. I'll go through each of them again so we can build some core strength here. Stopping at the level that feels best for your body. Exhale, let everything release down. Go ahead and let your spine roll down onto the mat, vertebrae by vertebrae. As a counter to boat pose, we're going to do a little bit of bridge pose. So walk your heels close to your sits bones. Let your hands lay on the mat beside you. Squeeze your legs together, glutes together. You're going to lift your hips up. Squeezing your core. No weight is in my hands here. All the lifting movement is coming from my core and my glutes. Exhale, roll from the top of your spine down to the bottom of your spine. Again, we'll do this one more time. Squeezing your glutes, squeezing your core, lifting up into bridge pose. And rolling all the way back down. Walk your feet a little bit further away from your sits bones. Our last pose today is going to be windshield wipers. You can windshield your knees to one side, pick them up and move them to the other side. As you do so, maybe noticing the massage that happens on your low back, on your hips. And letting them come to center. As always, you can take a few moments here to do any last movements that your body needs to feel complete before we enter Shavasana. So any last stretching. Maybe there's a movement in your body that represents connection that you didn't get to explore today that you want to do. And when you're ready, you can find some stillness in a comfortable pose, laying on your back with your palms to the sky, or laying on your side in fetal position with your bottom arm as a pillow. Our next poem is a poem on connection, but it's on the importance of space in connection. So maybe you hung out with family over these last few holiday days, and maybe you are ready to reconnect to yourself and get a little bit of space. It's called On Marriage by Khalil Gibran. Gibran? I never know how to say the last name. On Marriage. You were born together, and together you shall be forevermore. You shall be together when the white wings of death scatter your days. Ah, you shall be together even in the silent memory of God. But let there be spaces in your togetherness, and let the winds of the heavens dance between you. Love one another, but make not a bond of love. Let it rather be a moving sea between the shores of your souls. Fill each other's cup, but drink not from one cup. Give one another your bread, but eat not from the same loaf. Sing and dance together and be joyous, but let each one of you be alone. Even as the strings of a lute are alone, though they quiver with the same music. Give your hearts, but not into each other's keeping, for only the hand of life can contain your hearts. And stand together, yet not too near together, for the pillars of the temple stand apart, and the oak tree and the cypress grow not in each other's shadow. As always, I'll let you know when it's time to come out of Shavasana. Finding some movement back in your body, in your breath, in your arms, in your legs, in your spine. Waking up to the connection that you've cultivated for yourself today. Offering yourself a bit of gratitude and thanks and presence in this moment for showing up for yourself. We'll be practicing again next week on Thursday. We'll be doing one more little reflection before we fully transition into practices for January, but we'll be reflecting on intentions and blessings. So I, as always, love seeing all of you. Can't wait to see you next week to practice more yoga, integrating mind and body. Have a wonderful day.